Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Sports Extra and I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Let's take a look at what we're discussing on the show. We'll start off with cricket as usual. Pakistan have beaten the Netherlands in the second one international and have taken the series 2-0, an unassailable lead, and they played pretty well, didn't they? After getting Netherlands all out, they were inbound to chase the target. Had some struggles in between, but Mohammad Rizwan and Salman Ali Agha played a tremendous knock and Pakistan won this game with relative ease. And of course, Mohammad Nawaz was the player of the match as well. He really bowled superbly in the match. Now, the third ODI will take place on the 21st of August, and Pakistan will try to complete a whitewash, a clean sweep of the series. And then, of course, the team moves on to the UAE for the Asia Cup, starting with 28th, where the match between Pakistan and India will be played at the Dubai Cricket Stadium for Group A. After that, we'll be moving on to football. FIFA, I think the biggest news right now, FIFA has banned All India Football Federation. This is a big news. The Indian membership has been disallowed. Delhi is not going to host the Under-17 Women's World Cup. India is facing a ban over deviation from FIFA roadmap and, of course, the mandate of the FIFA as well. And it's, of course, a suspension that now needs to be looked at. Of course, it's not good for the region as well. Pakistan suffered the same fate, but thankfully, our normalization committee was able to steer us out of this mess, and we're in the right direction. So, of course, as football fans, you never appreciate something happening like this, and we hope and pray that All India Football Federation is able to come out of this mess and lift their suspension as well. Then, of course, the English Premier League, Liverpool is going to face 20th place Manchester United, who are likely to complete Casemiro deal as well. Thomas Tuchel is going to miss the Leeds versus Chelsea game, and of course, moving on, Chelsea preparing their bid for Aubameyang as well. To discuss this further now, starting off with cricket in studios, we've been joined by cricket expert and commentator Asif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, Asif. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, Ahmed. Thank you.
Great to have you on the show. Now, let's take a look at this report and the highlights of the game as well.
Salman going to have none of it though. Wide, long off.
Babar Azam-led Pakistan cricket team registered another victory as they beat Netherlands in the second ODI of the series. Pakistan lost the toss and were told to bowl first. Pakistani bowlers got off to a great start as Naseem Shah removed Vikramjit Singh in the second over and Max O'Dowd followed when he drove Rowe straight to Babar Azam at mid-off.
Babar Azam takes the catch and the Dutch Harris Rowe strikes.
Haris Rauf and Mohammad Nawaz took 3 wickets each to dismiss the Netherlands for 186, with Bas de Leede top scoring with 89 of 120 balls that included 2 fours and 2 sixes. He was ably supported by Tom Cooper, who struck 66 of 74 balls. Had these two not batted well, the host may have ended up scoring even less than 100 runs. In reply, Dutch seamer Vivian Kingma removed openers Fakhar Zaman and Imamul Haq as Pakistan stuttered early. Zaman was caught and bowled by Kingma for 3, and Imam was lured into a loose drive 4 balls later to reduce Pakistan to 11 for 2. However, Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan steadied the innings. Pakistan captain Babar Azam scored 57 of 65 balls before Mohammad Rizwan and Agha Salman made unbeaten half centuries as Pakistan needs to a 7-wicket win over the Netherlands to complete a series win.
Use of the feet and all the way for 6. He's tried and he's X, and that's an ODI 50 in just his second game. So the game for Pakistan by 7 wickets.
Well, there you have it. Take a bow, Salman Ali Agha. He's had a great game so far and he's relatively enjoyed his cricket. Of course, the Netherlands, the minnows here, but fortunately for Pakistan, they didn't go towards another scare. Asif, your thoughts on the game?
First of all, congratulations once again. It was a good game for Pakistan because when we were discussing yesterday that we were looking a convincing victory. It's fine early on, you have lost a couple of wickets, and once again, Fakhar Zaman, it was a slow delivery, slow short pitch delivery, and Fakhar Zaman was clueless actually. I would, whenever I talk about and whenever I criticize on Fakhar Zaman, people, they take me really serious and they ask a hard question to me.
Well, you're a very serious person.
See, this is the problem with Fakhar Zaman, it's an underrated team. Do understand that it's an underrated team, and then if you are scoring 100 and then you are going and after in second match you are throwing your wicket where you are clueless that what's happening, and then Imamul Haq, no issues, that he is struggling, and but if you see his record from last 6-7 matches, that he played really nicely and against good teams like Australia. So Fakhar Zaman should have worked on his technique, He is good. The way he played in first match, it was good. I mean, just waiting for the loose deliveries and playing on merit, which is really important in any sort of cricket, any kind of cricket. So I think, and then I'm happy that Rizwan is coming back and performing well. It's really important for Pakistan that in middle order, if Rizwan is not performing, Rizwan and Babar Azam, two batters, that Pakistan always struggles.
But at least the team's working on, because of Fakhar Zaman, I think that problem, you really identified it. That's a genuine problem he has. I saw a video on Twitter where Mohammad Yusuf, the batting coach, was working with Fakhar with the same technique that Bob Woolmer worked with Mohammad Yusuf with the colour balls. So identify the colour and then play the shot, so you can actually give yourself time.
Well, here you gave 100 marks to Vivian Kingma because the way he's bowling nicely, and you know that he understands that, and I discussed earlier as well that they've worked a lot and they've done their homework. They do understand that where Pakistani batters are getting problem. So this is the problem with the Fakhar Zaman, that always struggles with the slow short pitch delivery, and this would happen. So I think. When I talk about that, the coaches like Mohammad Yusuf, a legendary batter, then one of the great coaches, Bob Woolmer. The Bob Woolmer one worked with Mohammad Yusuf. Now he is transferring his experience, each and everything, which is really important because he is working with the Pakistan cricket team as a batting coach. So if batters are not performing, definitely people will ask that Mohammad Yusuf, what is happening? So, but if you talk about Mohammad Rizwan, I want to see him really anchoring innings in each match.
But Asif, I always say this is the Netherlands. If you want to gauge any player or look at their form and have an indicator, not against the Netherlands, probably against a quality side, and then we'll know how much in form they are.
That's right. But when Mohammad Rizwan is not in form and playing well and getting form back, it's a good sign for Pakistan. Not a good sign for Imamul Haq because if he is not able to perform, because he performed against Australia, and if he's not performing against Netherlands because the conditions have been changed now, it's a question mark, and I want to see him to score. Yesterday what I've said that.
Absolutely.
It's really important for Pakistan because technically he's so good. One thing where he is struggling, and I'm sure that batting coach Mohammad Yusuf is working on him. So I think overall, though it's a Netherlands and first match, it was a very nail-biting contest, and I was pretty much happy with the performance of Netherlands. So I think if now you're getting victory before 100 balls, 98 balls, if you are getting victory, and it's a quite comprehensive victory, convincing victory, but I think one thing would have to work there, and that is the middle order. Agha Salman played really nice innings, and thank you, Miss Lina. She mentioned us, that, and she said that.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Asif, thank you very much for joining us, and always great having you on the show. Congratulations to Pakistan. Of course, we wait for the third ODI now to have a clean sweep of the series. Moving on, FIFA has suspended the membership of All India Football Federation. Let's take a look at this report.
Football's governing body FIFA has banned football activities in India after repeated third-party interference in the All India Football Federation. This is the first time that All India Football Federation has been banned by FIFA in its 85-year history. According to a statement released by the FIFA, the All India Football Federation has been suspended with immediate effect due to a serious violation of FIFA statutes, which instates that there shall be no third-party influence within the matters of the Football Federation of the country. They stated that the suspension will only be lifted once the All India Football Federation administration regains full control of its daily affairs. As a result of the ban, India will no longer be allowed to host the upcoming Under-17 Women's World Cup, which was scheduled to be played from 11 to 30th October. Recently, the Supreme Court of India intervened in the All India Football Federation's affairs as they ousted President Praful Patel for not holding elections which were due in December 2020. The Supreme Court appointed a 3-member committee that would look after the All India Football Federation's affairs and start the process to hold elections. For the time being, football activities in India have been brought to a halt.
There you have it, all you need to know about what has happened. To talk about this further, we're very honored to be joined on Sports Extra by football journalist Samindra Kunti. Samindra, how are you, mate?
I'm all fine, and you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a while, but great to see you once again. Now, first of all, what has happened? I think the people really need to understand the causes right now for this suspension.
Yeah, I think your report summed it up quite well. India's Supreme Committee earlier this year sidelined the president of the All India Football Federation, Praful Patel, and appointed a committee of administrators to run the daily affairs of the federation and stage fresh elections as well. FIFA and the IFC drafted a roadmap with a time frame for the IAF to get its house in order, but the committee of administrators deviated from that roadmap, which foresaw that the constitution of the federation had to be amended by the end of July. So FIFA sent a warning to India, but that warning wasn't heeded, and so Zurich moved to suspend India over third-party interference in accordance with Article 14 of the FIFA statutes. The problems of the AIF really date back to 2020 when Praful Patel, his third term, came to an end after 12 years in power at the federation, but he overstayed because of a court case over the constitution. So in summary, there are two reasons for this suspension. The root cause is that Praful Patel perhaps mismanaged the federation for too long, and more recently, the Committee of Administrators deviated from the FIFA roadmap.
Well, it's a trickle-down effect, this unfortunate scenario. And of course, it does have implications. But what can we see now? What can we expect about the things that have proceeded, I think, in order now the implications that will come down to not just football in India, but for the region itself as well?
Well, I think for India itself, the implications are rather grave. Its national team and clubs cannot participate in international competitions. And a real example is Gokulam Kerala's women's team, who were supposed to participate in the AFC's Women Club Championship next week. And they've basically been left stranded in Uzbekistan. And they've appealed to the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, to intervene and seek a solution. Then there is the obvious, the fact that India won't be able to host the Women's Under-17 World Cup in October. So it doesn't reflect well on India, but it doesn't reflect well on the region as well. As you know, Pakistan had its fair share of problems as well. So it doesn't reflect well on the subcontinent. And the way it's managing and dealing football, which is obviously not the most popular sport in the region, but remains, a very important sport around the world.
Saminda, what are the hurdles in this region particularly? Like you also highlighted, Pakistan suffered a similar fate, but thankfully the situation unfolded in the favor of the Pakistan Football Federation. The Normalization Committee was given back its mandate and they managed to steer us out of suspension. So that was a job well done for us at least. But why are there hurdles when we see FIFA's mandate or charter or policy not being implemented in this region, particularly when you talk about the subcontinent?
Yeah, I think you gave the example of Pakistan. I think it dated back to 2017 when FIFA didn't accept an administrator appointed by the Lahore High Court, and Pakistan was suspended for 6 months. There was a second suspension later as well, and then you mentioned the Normalization Committee. But if we look at India, for example, there are plenty of governance issues as well. Patel overstayed the relationship between the AIF, the Indian Federation, and IMG Reliance, who are also the owners or the backers of the Indian Super League, the domestic club competition, is too close and too intertwined. There are too many commercial aspects there that aren't properly aligned. So if you look at India as well, there are too many governance issues, that really need to be dealt with. And I think what this suspension can perhaps do is offer India a chance to start with a clean record.
Well, on FIFA's point of view now, FIFA's own policies have been criticized. There have been shadows of corruption and allegations over FIFA as well. What can be done more to have a universal and equal share of football and throughout the world? And we certainly know this, that it won't be possible easily because of certain segments that still dominate the major share of football in the world.
Yeah, I think especially when we talk about third-party interference, FIFA does use it whenever it pleases. So it's a very tricky, vague, and not very transparent concept. But when we talk about equal share, remember that India has received 9.4 million US dollars from the FIFA development program since 2016. By comparison, for example, Germany has received 9.2 million dollars since 2016. Pakistan $2.1 million. So from a financial point of view, I don't think that member federations can complain that FIFA doesn't offer them enough financial resources. FIFA has expanded the World Cup to 48 teams in 2026. They tried to introduce a biannual World Cup. FIFA stages junior competitions around the world, as well as beach soccer competitions and football competitions. I think the problem here is not about equal share, but it's about governance. Too many national federations are badly run or mired in corruption, and Pakistan and India are two glaring examples. And then FIFA itself has many governance issues. So add those two up, and you find yourself in a very toxic culture in football governance.
Definitely, that would be the case, and obviously we hope that things get better. But Samindra, thank you very much for joining us on Sports Extra. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you.
Right, that was Samindra Kunti, football journalist, talking to us regarding the situation as it has unfolded. All India Football Federation has been suspended by FIFA for third-party interference once again. It's a similar case, almost what we saw in Pakistan, but thankfully sanity prevailed. Things went in the right direction. The Normalization Committee was given back their mandate and we were steered out of suspension. But I think for India, at least for their sake, it's very, very important to immediately halt the entire process, go back to the drawing board, take all stakeholders and parties on board, because obviously, like I said, as a football fan, you don't appreciate these kinds of things happening, not just in your own country, but in the entire region. And of course, there's a lot of talent for football in this region, and we hope that sanity prevails there as well. And of course, this suspension is lifted as soon as it can. And of course, the World Cup, Under-17 Women's World Cup, proceeds in India. And of course, they get to participate in international competitions as well. That being said, we'll move on to the English Premier League now, where we've got some quality action coming up. Liverpool is going to be facing a bottom-placed Manchester United, who are themselves nearing the Casemiro deal as well. On the other side, we've got Tuchel, who's not going to be part of the Chelsea versus Leeds game. And then, of course, Aubameyang being very close to be signed as well at the same time. Discuss all of this, all the latest news from the Premier League. We'll be joined in studios by sports expert Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum, Ali. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm very well, Ahmed.
Well, I don't have any hopes up. I'll be very honest. It's a 20th place side against Liverpool, and we just have to figure out how will be that goal difference that we get to see.
Well, could you have ever believed it? After 2 match weeks, Manchester United at the bottom of the foot of the table with a difference of -5. You know, it's incredible how the fortunes change. This is the same team which has the most number of Premier League titles in the form of 2013 in the Premier League era, and for them to be to have their worst start just shows how their fortunes and how they've actually fallen as a team. But you know, all is not lost still, Ahmed. The fact of the matter is that, look, ever since this hiccup, ever since this disastrous start for Manchester United, you could see how there's been some activity in the transfer market. We've been hearing from the Glazers. The Glazers probably are putting a minority share up for sale. You know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the most expensive, you could say the richest person in Britain, he's probably going to go for a bid, and he loves the club very well.
He's a fan.
And he's a fan. He's from Lancashire. He owns Nice. He owns a cycling team, Mercedes McLaren, the cycling team. So you know, he's the one who's probably going to buy that minority share. And then, if that be the case, then eventually Manchester United, which is valued at about 4 to 5 billion, actually could be bought by Britain's most richest businessman.
But Ali Mehdi, I go back to a couple of weeks and probably a month. Ten Hag actually had already said this, that the fans need to understand there will not be immediate results.
That is true. I mean, the fact of the matter is, he did say this. He did put his stamp down and he put his foot down and said that they are not going to have immediate results. But it's not really the results, it's the manner in which they lost. There was no hunger, no desire, no pressing sort of football we know from Manchester United. And, you know, the team looked completely half-hearted. You didn't see that, you know, fighting spirit. We've seen it in the past, you know, during the eras post of Alex Ferguson, should it be Mourinho, Van Gaal, and also in this Solskjaer's era, that even when Manchester United went down, at least they fought, at least they tried. You could see that this team over the past 2 weeks has been toothless. In front of goal, they've been horrible. At the back, midfield is non-existent too. So that's why there's a lot of transfer activity happening. We are talking about the Casemiro deal right now. I mean, who would have thought a 5-time Champions League winner, one of the greatest, who played in one of the greatest Real Madrid teams, now wants a new adventure, and he's actually open to coming to Manchester United.
I'm just going back, and I just figured out this as well, because I had retweeted this. I saw it on Twitter, that Gary Neville and Redknapp's debate, where it actually got a bit heated, because Neville kept on putting all the blame on the Glazers, as it has been for the past couple of months, and I think more than a year than previous season now. But somewhat I believe that part of what Redknapp was saying was okay, where he said that, look, the players are equally to blame because of the lack of effort they're putting into the game itself.
Look, I'd say that the players need to take their share. They need to take some blame of, and the share of the burden too. But the fact of the matter, it comes down. It's you could say it's a trickle-down effect. It's actually the owners at the end of the day. They are the ones who haven't provided much stability. They never talk to the fans. They never are involved in the running of the club too. They only care about the commercial size, due to which the stock
Which is still okay.
Which is doing great. They've done extremely. They're a huge brand. Look, Chelsea were just, about 2.5 billion they were bought for right now. Manchester United are, at this moment of time, Ahmed, are valued at about $4 to $5 billion, £4 to £5 billion. That shows that what an amazing market brand this is. I mean, they've got a global presence. They've got, you can't look at the business side of things. You have to look at what happens on the pitch. It's what pitch which dictates
might be good for us to be relegated for once. You never know.
You never know at the state the team is going.
But look, a layman's question. You've got Ronaldo on your bench. Why wouldn't you start him in any game?
Look, the Ronaldo has been, I would say, has been a hot topic for a while. Does he have that desire? Does he want to play for Manchester United? You can see if he's extremely frustrated. And there's always talks and rumors. The rumor mill is having a field day with the fact that they want to get, that he wants to go. But look, he said one thing, he's happy to say as long as there's transfer activity, as long as good players come in. If Casemiro comes, that will be brilliant. You have three of the Real Madrid greats in the form of Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Varane. I don't know why he doesn't play regularly from United. And then Casemiro coming in. These three, if they can get Casemiro, this will be a huge statement. I still think it's early days. They still need more transfer activity. They need to get a forward to Manchester United with Ajax forward, Anthony, who's brilliant. They probably need a right back to to replace Dalot and AWB, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's been horrible till now. So there are a lot of areas which they need to plug in. And yes, it will take time to get results, but at least you should see that fight, that desire, that hunger. And interestingly enough, which I think is a miracle right now, if Manchester United actually beat Liverpool, they're going to get ahead of them so 1 point. So it's still very early days, but they need to make a statement. The Glazers need to put their foot down, need to get their transfer activity right. But most importantly, they have to show that quality which they have in that squad. They have the quality. They have to show that desire on the pitch, which they clearly haven't.
Absolutely. They need to, and that would be the case. But like we said, and as Ali Mehdi also highlighted, that's still very early to say. Things will proceed accordingly. The league is, I think, one of the most busiest schedules of league football. The number of games are intense. You already know the huge number of games being played. So you never know. United might just take this up gradually. That being said, that's all we have for this edition of Sports Extra. Join us tomorrow once again from me and the entire team. It's goodbye for now.